Let's go ahead and get this show on the road. I live in Georgia. Those of you who've known me for a long time know I live in Georgia. Now, why does that matter? Well, as I've said in several videos before, Georgia is where the third reiteration of the KKK started. Now, why does that matter? Well, apparently, the KKK had a whole fucking murder and kidnapping plot here. So, content warning, we're going to be talking about all of that. Before we get into that, though, let's go ahead and consider for a second the fan art section. Cursed place that it is. Web Surfer, thank you for, Pickle Suris. I can think of very many things in my life I would prefer besides, Pickle Suris. And also, Cherry, thank you for the and Freaking Out, thank you for the oh-ohs. Y'all are both degenerates, and every single one of you in chat is a monster. This pickle is scarring me. Finally, moving on to something that does not scar me, though, from Sunflower E-Spirit, we have this wonderful view from space. Originally, when I saw this, I thought, oh, this is like a sunrise that I'm watching from space. There's another part of me that headcanons that I'm just watching the world burn. I'm just watching it just explode. The world ceases existing after this point, canonically. Actually, I think that's exactly what happens. I just read the little section down here that says Earth go boom. It's Earth go boom. So, yeah, no, now that I've read that, yeah, Earth go boom. We dead. Apparently, Earth goes boom, in the year 2061, according to this. So, yeah, we all gonna die there. Earth go boom. It's already very hot here right now. I don't want it to get any more hot. But thank you, Sunflower E-Spirit, and also Web Surfer, for your fan art submissions. If you want to submit fan art for the stream, just drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. As always, thank you all for your fan art submissions, and we will talk about this shit. Okay. So, inside a KKK murder plot. Grab him, take him to the river. Now, I looked a little bit into this story, and it's less of a reporting on the story and more of an almost dramatization. So please keep that in mind as we read, but the information presented is still important. After I hit X on this one random advertisement. Joseph Moore breathed heavily, his face slick with nervous sweat. He held a cell phone with a photo of a man splayed on the floor. The man appeared dead, his shirt torn apart, and his pants wet. Puffy dark clouds blocked the sun as Moore greeted another man, who'd pulled up in a metallic blue sedan. They met behind an old fried chicken shack in rural North Florida. Kiki, my brother, Moore said. It was shorthand for Klansman, I greet you. Birds chirped in a tree overhead, and traffic whooshed by on a nearby road, muddling the sound of their voices, which were being recorded secretly. Moore brought the phone to David, Sarge Morin, who wore a camouflaged print baseball hat emblazoned with a Confederate flag, patch, and a metal cross. His arms and hands were covered in tattoos. A nervous, giddy chuckle escaped Morin's mouth. Oh shit, I love it, he said. Motherfucker pissed himself. Good job. I don't know why I chose a redneck for him. We're gonna go Tristan for the other one. Is that what y'all wanted? Hell yeah, Morris said, his voice high-pitched. Oh, I chose a redneck and it's a high-pitched voice. Damn. Wrong voice. Wrong voice for this. Too many deets. It was 11:30 a.m. on March 19th, 2015, and the Klansmen were celebrating what they thought was a successful murder in Florida. But the FBI had gotten wind of the murder plot. A confidential informant had infiltrated the group, and his recordings provided a rare, detailed look at the inner workings of a modern Klan cell and a domestic terrorism probe. That investigation would unearth another secret, an unknown number of Klansmen were working inside the Florida Department of Corrections, with significant power over inmates, black and white. Thomas Diver took a pull off a cigarette and exhaled the smoke at Warren Williams' driver. A white prison guard and Williams, a black inmate, faced each other. It was a humid August day in 2013, about a year and a half before the clandestine murder photo reveal. The two men stood in a sweltering prison dorm room in rural North Florida's Reception and Medical Center, a barbed wire encircled complex built among farmland an hour south of the Georgia state line. The RMC is the state's prison hospital where new inmates are processed. And also, Calmondo, thank you very much for the 5 Tier 1 subs gifted to the community. Williams, a quiet 6'1", 210-pound inmate, suffered from severe anxiety and depression. He was serving a year, records show, for striking a police officer. Williams agreed to plead no contest in exchange for a reduced sentence and in order to receive a mental health evaluation and treatment under county supervision. He found himself in front of Driver after he lost his identification badge, a prison infraction. Williams told Driver to stop blowing smoke at him. He'd report later. Driver blew more, and Williams told him to stop again. When Driver continued, Williams jumped at him, and they hit the ground. As they struggled, Williams bit Driver and gained an advantage, according to both men's accounts of the fight. A group of guards responded and beat Williams so badly that he required hospitalization, his mother and lawyer had said. Driver, in turn, needed a battery of precautionary tests for HIV and hepatitis C because of the bite. They would all be negative, but the ordeal enraged him. He wanted revenge. Again, do note, everyone, that, like I said, this is more of a dramatized reading than a statement of facts, which, again, is what we usually prefer, but we're going to still press forward. More than a year later, in December 2014, a wooden cross... Jesus Christ, Baba! Stop. Jesus! More than a year later... Baba! Come here. Is it love you want? Is it love you want? Oh my god. Baba. Oh boy. My cat. She wants all the love. More than a year later, in December 2014, a wooden cross ignited in a field hidden by tall trees. Dozens of hooded Klansmen... It's like, as I start reading, she gets louder. Oh my god. Dozens of hooded Klansmen gathered around for a Clon-Cave, a meeting of the Floridian Traditionalist American Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. Members of a biker club were being naturalized as citizens into the invisible empire of the Klan. Security was tight. The bikers were worried about recording devices and were checking people. Driver, known by his fellow Klansmen as Brother Thomas, was there with Sarge Moran, who was also a prison guard. Moran had worked for the Florida Department of Corrections for decades. He'd also been a Klansman for years. He'd been disciplined more than once by Corrections Department for violent incidents, according to records obtained by the Associated Press. Despite this, Moran had been kept in a position of power over inmates. William 1972, thank you very much for resubscribing with your Bezos bucks. Morin and Driver wanted to discuss an urgent matter with Joseph Moore, the group's Grand Night Hawk, in charge of security. Moore was a U.S. Army veteran. When not in his Klan helmet, he often wore a baseball hat pinned with military medals, including a Purple Heart. He commanded respect and fear from his Klan brothers, and often regaled them with stories of his work killing targets overseas as part of an elite U.S. military squad. The three men moved away for a private talk, and had another Klansman keep watch nearby so they weren't overheard. The guards gave Moore a paper with a picture of Williams, his name, and other information. Driver described the fight and how he and his family had worried for weeks about the false positive test for hepatitis C. Moore asked, "Do you want him 6 feet under?" And Driver and Moran looked at each other and said, "Yes. Is this real? Yes, this is an account of real things that really happened." The very existence of a plot to murder a black man by Ku Klux Klan members working in law enforcement evokes past tragedies like the 1964 Mississippi burning case, where 3 civil rights workers were slain by Klansmen. Sheriff's Deputy Cecil Price Sr. was implicated in the deaths and was convicted of violating the young men's civil rights. Today, researchers believe that tens of thousands of Americans belong to groups that identified with the white supremacist extremism, the Klan being just one. These groups' efforts to infiltrate law enforcement have been documented repeatedly in recent years and called an epidemic by legal scholars. Now, we are past the hyperbole and we are into the more solid facts of what's going on. And I have to honestly say, it is not surprising, given a lot of the information that came up over the last year, that we would have a, quote, epidemic of Klansmen and other white supremacists working their way into the police force. It honestly doesn't surprise me, and we've even got FBI statistics to back up the end result of all of that. Which is funny, because when you hear people say that the police definitely are not racist and definitely only have a few bad apples, but then we definitely see evidence of a lot more than that, we wonder what questions actually need to be asked. FBI Director Christopher Wray said at a March Senate hearing that racially motivated violent extremism, mostly by white supremacists, accounts for the most rapidly rising share of domestic terrorism cases. That same group of people have been responsible for the most lethal attacks over the last decade. During the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, thin blue line flags flew alongside white supremacist signs and banners, and more than 30 of current and former police officers from a number of departments around the nation were identified as attendees. Wow. Why? White supremacist groups have historically engaged in strategic efforts to infiltrate and recruit from law enforcement, said an FBI document released by a congressional committee in September. Let's maybe take a look at that document. That's kind of important here. So it's a 10-page document, and for those of you who are in the chat and want access to it, we're going to link that document to you as well. You have every ability to read over it as you want, but this is an entire FBI document on white supremacist infiltration of law enforcement. Key judgments. Although white supremacist groups have historically engaged in strategic efforts to infiltrate and recruit from law enforcement communities, current reporting on attempts reflects self-initiated efforts by individuals, particularly among those already within law enforcement ranks, to volunteer their professional resources to white supremacist causes with which they sympathize. So it's not that the police are a beacon that is getting corrupted by outside white supremacist forces. There are police that are just working to fucking help white supremacist causes. The primary threat from infiltration or recruitment arises from the areas of intelligence collected and exploration, which can lead to investigative breaches and can jeopardize the safety of law enforcement sources and personnel. It also says in here, white supremacist presence among law enforcement personnel is a concern due to the access they may possess to restricted areas vulnerable to sabotage and to elected officials or protected persons, whom they could see as potential targets for violence. In addition, white supremacist infiltration of law enforcement can result in other abuses of authority and passive tolerance of racism within communities served. The intelligence acquired through the successful infiltration of The intelligence required, I love my animals, through the successful infiltration of law enforcement by one white supremacist group can benefit other groups due to the multiple allegiances white supremacists typically hold. And these are the key judgments that were made from the particular document. Do we find any of this largely surprising? Probably not. Jalen Jean, thank you very much for redeeming the oh well. They at least tolerate freaking terrorists. Yeah, apparently so. Apparently so. So we've looked through that there. About 4 months before the Capitol riots, in the intelligence assessment written in 2006, the FBI said some in law enforcement were volunteering professional resources to white supremacist causes in which they sympathize, which of course we read in the document itself. While the FBI would not confirm it had produced a more recent assessment of the ongoing threat, recent cases have confirmed that the problem the agency described in 2006 does continue. In November, a Georgia deputy was caught on an FBI wiretap boasting about targeting black people for felony arrests so that they couldn't vote, and recruiting colleagues into a group called Shadow Moses in 2017. 2017 is a separate thing. The Shadow Moses incident, which I understand is not really the Shadow Moses incident from Metal Gear Solid, but we'll just call it that. The Shadow Moses incident thing, we covered actually on my channel earlier. For those who don't remember, I covered that one because it happened in Georgia too. This is a fucking... It comes up again in an unrelated, yet very related article. In 2017, an interim police chief in Oklahoma was found to have ties to an international neo-Nazi group. In 2014, 2 officers in Fruitland Park, Florida, were outed as Klansmen and forced to quit. Despite repeated examples, white supremacists who are fired from law enforcement jobs after being discovered can often find jobs with other agencies. There is no database officials can check to see if someone's been identified as an extremist. What? Wait, what? Really? When you fire a police officer for an offense like that, that's not plugged into a database? What? If that's true, I'm not surprised, but also, why would that be true? What? Okay. Sure. In 2020, an officer in Anniston, Alabama, was hired by a county sheriff's department just a few years after the Southern Poverty Law Center posted a video of him speaking at a white nationalist league of the South meeting. Oh, okay. Okay. So they just don't care. It's true because the patients are running Arkham. There is no trail that follows them even if they're fired. It's spreading the problem around, said the former chief of the FBI's New York Domestic Terrorism Squad, who now works with the Anti-Defamation League. Domestic terrorism experts have been calling for better screening to help identify extremists before they are hired. Some states, such as California and Minnesota, have tried to pass new screening laws, only to be prevented by police unions, whose legal challenges argued successfully that such queries violate free speech rights. That is a lot of barking from Growlithe, and I do not know why that barking is happening. But that is... Growlithe, come here, baby. Come here. No, Growlithe, come here. Come on. Come on. I know you're barking because you think you hear something outside. But I'm okay, that does not work either. Nothing works. Jeebus. Anyway, continuing on. Without screening, white supremacists who get in... I just won't. I just won't. Doggo doing a borf. Yep. Poor guy hears a water type outside. Yep. Without screening, white supremacists who get inside can operate with impunity, targeting black and other people of color and recruiting others who share their views. Unless your name ends up in an FBI wiretap, an officer will go undetected, said Fred Burton, a former special agent with the U.S. Diplomatic Security Service. There are loopholes in the background investigative process. And then it goes on to continue the story of what happened here. But so there's a lot of information here, and I don't want to just take it all. And again, most of it is done in dramatized reading format. It does dramatized reading, and then it goes to background information about FBI stats, and then it goes dramatized reading, and then it goes back to background information. Fox of Fate, thank you very much for redeeming your hara hara. You fucking monster. So we're going to scroll down. If you want to read the entire article, you have the ability to. I will not stop you. But we're going to look here, at the end here. Williams and his family lived a day with uncertainty and paranoia. My fears? Well, that maybe some of the other clan members could come around and try to find us and harm us. His mother, LaTanya Crowley, told the Associated Press in his first interview about the ordeal. Looking back, Crowley remembers weird occurrences around the house before the FBI got involved. In one instance, a neighbor said they saw 2 white men, they looked like police, in Crowley's yard at daybreak. He said no police came to my house, and Crowley remembered replying to the news dismissively. A bag of her trash full of empty insulin containers, she's diabetic, also disappeared. She wondered if that's why Newcomb thought to use insulin. There's context missing from here, because we skipped ahead, because I don't want to just plagiarize the entire article. Growlith translation, bork bork racists go to heck. Yep. Williams and Crowley are thankful too. The FBI saved his life, and the state of Florida prosecuted the men who threatened him. Williams filed a lawsuit against the Klansmen and the Florida Department of Corrections. Williams' attorney is frustrated that Florida hasn't investigated more thoroughly to see if there are more white supremacists working for the state prisons, and wants them to take responsibility. Florida, for its part, has sought to have the case dismissed and declined further comment on it. Of course they would, because it looks really bad when you don't do anything to stop the KKK from being in your various departments. And you can't say that, oh, well, they got fired from X job is enough when they get rehired from another district because they didn't put a fucking extremist database in. Super easy thing to do. Just put a red flag on the officer's name. Not hard. We have the technology. If a red flag can appear on my name, if I go to apply at a random McDonald's, not that that's happened, but as an example, then you can have a red flag for a fucking police officer. You can. Williams is haunted by Driver's imminent release, and the specter of other Klansmen have made it impossible for him to move on. In the state of mind that he's in today, I don't see him getting better, Crowler said. But the whole fucking plot. Again, there's a lot more stuff in the plot here. I sincerely wish that I'd selected an article that just went into the details and not an entire story. But the story does add a human element to this. It does take this away from just the clinical information, and it moves it into the it can happen here category of stuff. If you want to read the entire article, you can find it on Yahoo and the Associated Press. Would highly recommend it. But the bits I've read here can give you at least enough information. Someone was kidnapped. The KKK are literally infiltrating several areas of law enforcement. We do not have the ability to properly screen for them because police unions are literally fighting to stop that screening. Why would you, as a fucking union, try to stop screening for extremism? Is it just that you want extremism in your ranks? I don't know. Why would you want that? But an entire kidnapping plot, a murder plot, an attempt to do this, all because of beef that happened in prison once. This is the type of pettiness that you get from the KKK. Fire everyone and do thorough background checks that don't allow the hiring. I've been an advocate for a while of just resetting the fucking button on several law enforcement agencies. Honestly. Yeah, extremist in power. What a shock. What a shock. Anyway, if you found any of this informative, if this particular episode meant anything to you, or if you gained anything from it, hit a like button on this video, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already over on YouTube, follow over on Twitch, and if you haven't, there are ways to support the channel in the description below. You should check those out. As always, everyone, this has been mentally taxing, but insert end of video tagline here.